evening. You are watching Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Smriti Rastogi. In recent times, changes in corporate leadership have frequently hit the headlines. Not merely confined to financial dailies, such cases have even claimed space in general newspapers as well. The most recent case involves Binny Bansal, who resigned as the Flipkart Group Chief Executive Officer after an investigation into an alleged case of personal misconduct. Walmart Inc., that has brought Flipkart, claimed that Binny's exit comes after an independent investigation done by it. The company also said that Binny has strongly denied the allegation. The case is just one instance of the churn in India's corporate world. Today, in depth, we look at some of the prominent cases of exit by corporate leaders in India and the world, the reason for it, and the lacunae that India needs to address in enforcing ethical behaviour and compliance. The causes behind the rising instances of churn in India's corporate world range from personal misconduct to corruption and other causes. Let's take a look at some of the prominent cases.
Earlier this week, Flipkart Group CEO and co-founder Binny Bansal resigned on charges of serious personal misconduct. Walmart Inc., that bought 77% stake in Flipkart earlier this year, announced that Bansal was leaving the company after an independent probe into allegations of sexual assault, showing their zero-tolerance policy. While Bansal denied allegations and investigators could not find evidence of assault, the probe did reveal lapses in judgment.
No, this zero tolerance never it can't come zero tolerance, because sometimes you have to ignore. You can't do something out of proportionate. You have to blow something within the limit. So zero tolerance is a very far-reaching word, which we have to be restrictly used. This tolerance issue has started. Corporates are realizing that if we are doing something wrong, then people will raise this.
The resignation of the top executive created a furor in the corporate world, but this was not the only case where heads rolled over allegations of misconduct. The banking community in India received a shock on 4th of October this year when Chanda Kochar, the CEO and MD of ICICI Bank, resigned over allegations of conflict of interest. This after a whistleblower alleged quid pro quo by Kochar and her family with respect to a loan granted to Videocon Group, whose promoter Venugopal Dhoot had investments in New Power Renewables owned by Chanda Kochar's husband Deepak Kochar.
The ICICI Bank, you have the chairman Chanda Kochar, who has been, the managing director and CEO, who has been there for quite some time. There have been a lot of issues with the ICICI Bank, but not who will bell the cat. That's the biggest issue. Once Chanda Kochar's issues came to the fore, immediately perhaps the present regime seems to have swung into action, got the lady out of the bank, and a new board of directors has been appointed.
In February, the banking sector was rocked by the Punjab National Bank fraud amounting to a massive 14,000 crore rupees involving diamond jeweller Nirav Modi and his associates. Caught in the net was Usha Ananthasubramanian, former CEO of Allahabad Bank. She was relieved of her position after her name appeared in a CBI charge sheet. She was the MD and CEO of the Punjab National Bank between August 2015 and May 2017, the period the scam occurred. Yes Bank's non-executive chairman Ashok Chawla resigned on 14th November after being named in the CBI charge sheet in the Aircel Maxis case. This after shareholders, stakeholders and SEBI started questioning his continuance on the bank's board even after facing corruption charges. Chawla's exit comes at a time when the bank is struggling to find a replacement for founder and CEO Rana Kapoor after the RBI refused to extend his tenure beyond January 2019. Cyrus Mistry was sacked as chairman of Tata Sons in 2016 after a bitter public spat with members of the board, while Mistry alleged oppression of minority shareholders and filed a petition under the Companies Act. The board said that all operating companies except TCS were performing badly under Mistry's leadership. However, in July this year, the National Company Law Tribunal dismissed all charges made by Cyrus Mistry. The bench said Mistry was removed as chairman of Tata Sons because its shareholders had lost trust in him. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Ethical behavior is possible in any organization only when it has zero tolerance attitude towards misconduct of any kind. And that is possible when the employees see the top management correct in its dealings, deviations are regularly reported and remedial action is taken. The recent corporate churn in India has many causes, ranging from personal misconduct to bribery and corruption. But when it comes to ethical business practices, observers say that both at the individual and institutional level, compliance has always been poor in India.
Ethics in India, which you are talking about, the more or less people talks about the governance, supply kar diya information, you have disclosed this, so that is okay. But the governance, ethics is a larger part than the governance. Is a part you can keep it inside the governance also, and you can make this that this is the higher than the governance. So ethical, you are ethical, you will not hurt me, I will not hurt you, I will not take anything negative, I will not tell lie, I will not give a fake news, I will not do this. All these things are part of the ethics. It is not that just we are talking about the one issue that I am very transparent, I am giving everything, but under the carpet I am not showing so many things.
In as many as 50 corporates from India took part in EY Fraud Survey 2018. According to the EY Global Fraud Survey 2018, many of the respondents interviewed reported widespread bribery and corruption in business. However, the percentage of respondents in India acknowledging the existence of these malpractices has come down from 70% in 2012 to 40% in 2018. But what's worrying is that these economic crimes take place even though most organizations have institutional frameworks on business ethics and compliance, as well as code of conduct for employees.
The problem with India is law is adequate, implementation is poor. So today if you see, we have a IPC, we have a SEBI law, we have a company law, we have a definition of fraud. Everything is covered in this. But whenever there is some crime is taking place, some wrong thing is happening, then the legal aspects is taking, oh, you have talked about this, but it is not like this.
A PwC's Global Economic Crime Survey 2016 says that 94% of the Indian respondents stated that their organizations had a clear code of conduct, but only 15% indicated that their leaders walked the talk. 24% also said that communication and training on ethical behavior was unclear. Many instances of fraud, bribery and corruption do not get reported for the fear of retaliation. Many people don't report fraud out of the loyalty to the company and loyalty to their colleagues. Ethical behavior can become pervasive within the organization only if it has a zero-tolerance attitude towards misconduct of any kind. That happens only when the top management is seen to be the ethical in its dealings and regularly reports deviations and actions taken to all the stakeholders. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And with that, time for a very short break. Stay with us. Welcome back after the break. Several international cases have also brought the focus back on the need to re-examine corporate ethics. It applies to all aspects of business conduct and is relevant to the conduct of individuals and entire organizations. Let's take a look at some of the recent cases that have rocked the international corporate world.
Europe and in particular to Spain.
Across the world as well, the corporate world has dominated media headlines. The world's largest advertising and public relations company, WPP's founder and chief Sir Martin Sorrell, resigned in April this year following an internal investigation into claims of possible misuse of assets and allegations of personal misconduct. According to an independent investigation conducted by WPP, Sorrell's misconduct reportedly involved the misuse of company funds, but not at a level material to the massive organization. WPP also did not release any public details about what the allegations were or whether they were substantiated. While Sorrell denied any involvement, WPP decided to treat him as having retired after 33 years of service, and he received £20 million as part of his exit. In September this year, Elon Musk stepped down as Tesla chairman and agreed to pay a $20 million penalty to settle fraud charges brought by the US over his claims about taking the company private. Musk had in a tweet said that he was considering taking Tesla private at $420 a share and had secured funding. US Securities and Exchange Commission charged Musk with misleading investors and ensuring market chaos that hurt investors. Last year, one of the biggest allegations of sexual misconduct surfaced against American film producer Harvey Weinstein. More than 100 actresses came forward with accusations of sexual misconduct against him dating back decades. While he denied taking part in any non-consensual sex, Weinstein was fired from his production company and expelled from many other projects that he was a part of. The Los Angeles Police Department also opened a criminal investigation for alleged rape against him, along with investigation into other sexual assault allegations. In 2017, electronic giant Samsung featured in the news for all the wrong reasons when the company's heir Lee Jae-yong was jailed for 5 years on charges of corruption and bribery. Lee Jae-yong, South Korea's third richest man, was found guilty of making large donations to foundations run by a close friend and confidant of former South Korean President Park Geun-hye in return for political favors. In the political ramifications of the case, Park Geun-hye was eventually impeached and removed from office. In 2015, German automaker Volkswagen admitted to installing software in at least 11 million of their diesel cars in order to trick the US Environmental Protection Agency's emission testers into thinking that the cars were more environment friendly than they actually were. Following the scandal, the chief executive of Volkswagen, Martin Winterkorn, announced his resignation, expressing shock over the events. The world's second largest car maker also lost roughly $20 billion in market capitalization. This week, internet giant Google promised to be more forceful and open about its handling of sexual misconduct cases. Google dropped its mandatory arbitration of all sexual misconduct cases clause, making it optional, which allows its employees to choose to sue in court and present their case in front of a jury. This after about 20,000 high-paid employees from Google offices around the world walked out in protest over its male-dominated culture. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The changes in India's corporate leadership on various counts have focused attention on the challenges of enforcing ethical norms. Experts say this is glaring in areas with regard to policies on disclosure, personal relationships at workplace, transparency among founders, senior executives and investors. The rapid changes in global business is bringing with them equally difficult challenges for India's corporate world. Mergers and partnerships with global players are changing work cultures. It is bringing out in sharp contrast a significant difference in the methods of working in India and Western countries. The Western world is a cluster of developed nations with a better standard of living, an upgraded lifestyle and specific set of laws. For Indian companies, Unused to the practice, the challenge is to take stock of policies on disclosure. Human resource experts and corporate lawyers familiar with the processes in India say that a sign of any mature ecosystem is when such sensitive details are necessarily disclosed as part of due diligence. These could include personal matters of promoters and senior executives, and particularly during any due diligence. Apart from matters of personal relationships, there is also requirement for transparency among founders, senior executives and investors. This is especially so for the startup community in India that need to have a very clear intent on compliance.
The Indian corporate, the biggest challenge is that we have to be more ethical on the aspects of profit maximization and the hiding of our wrongdoing. So under the process that my company should look in the market in a higher pedestal, we are just doing the window dressing. So the corporate world has to come out, because the result is anybody who is doing ethical business, he is earning more, his market capitalization is more. Yes, but that is not a short term, it will take long term. But those who are doing unethical thing and not or compromising on the various governance aspects, they may gain today, but ultimately they will be the loser.
The issue of corruption has also made it increasingly critical for multinational managers to ensure that no ethical costs are attached to business successes. Conflict of interest and to meritocracy are two other Western concepts that seem to go against popular practices in Indian society. Indian culture has always placed great emphasis on loyalty to the collective. It could be in the form of family, caste, and even village. This drives a culture of favors, friendships, and clanship. India's corporate world too has to find answers to this practice. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And that's all we have for you in this edition of In Depth. Thank you for watching.